Sure, so Baam Squad is a virtual reality zombie shooter that you can play with your friends or other players around the world. So you will take a role as one of the 4 badass heroes to slay off the zombies with your mates and to see how far you can go through to survive against the infinite zombie waves. I'm a huge fan of zombie shooters basically, and there are games that I really enjoyed in the past. So Call of Duty Zombie series and the Left 4 Dead series, these two are definitely the top 2 games in terms of co-op mode play, in my opinion. And so I just want to bring that awesome experience into virtual space. Okay, I don't want to reveal the whole secrets behind, so instead I'm going to tell you who the main characters are and why they are here. So the 4 characters of Baam Squad have their own background stories to jump into the battle. So first, the veteran, he volunteered to jump in because he knows something about the zombie outbreak. He's not a talkative guy, so he rather wants to remain silent and not to tell others about what he knows. And second, the nerd, he basically has no interest in saving the world, but he just wants to collect zombie blood for his own personal investigation. And third, the superstar, he's a main commercial model of a factory's mega hit jelly snack named Sugar Burst, and so he doesn't want to lose his job and also his reputation. And lastly, the last one, the Candy Lab researcher, she works in a rival company and she wants to know why zombies are so crazy about the gingerbread man, which is another mega hit product that is made in this factory. So basically the looks of the zombies are designed to give a visual diversity and also provide a hint of their attribute. So for instance, there's a zombie wearing an American football costume, and this guy is way faster, stronger, and also bigger in size than other zombies. There's also another zombie called Suicide Zombie who runs faster than the normal ones, and he uses the bomb on his hand to explode when it is near to the player. So in short, visual defines role. Okay, so I actually have a lot to say about this because the concept of locomotion in virtual reality, it was quite an issue for not only the developers, but also for the consumers of VR for quite a long time. Many VR games in the past few years, they made a clear limitation on players' movement, and technically this was because of the problem with motion sickness. And however, now the industry has various techniques to avoid or minimize this problem, so I think more and more games are choosing to support the free locomotion rather than limiting player with a teleportation. I think this is a natural evolution for virtual reality scene because people want to move around in a virtual space just like they do in the real world. Nobody wants to sit or just stand on a fixed spot as if they were fishing on a shore. So you see the Fallout VR and the Skyrim VR, which are going to be released this year, they both chose to let freely move around. And I think this is something that users really want in a virtual reality game. So this aspiration works the same for me. My previous work, Space Sushi, which was selected as one of the top VR contents by Nexon Computer Museum last year, it had the same issue. I thought most users would have some trouble with motion sickness, so I allowed them to move around in a confined space that is as small as a room scale. But although Space Sushi did a pretty good job and it was successful to engage its users, in that time, I also want to make a VR game that people can freely move around. And then this concept of zombie shooter came into my mind, and so I had to consider making a first-person shooter game, and the free movement in that context was a must option. So here I am. Okay, so our goal, the main goal, is not to use zombie as some kind of gimmick to jump scare our users. And so we intentionally choose a blocky voxel style graphics so that overall atmosphere of the game could be seen as something like casual. Well, I think this was quite successful considering the fact that the game doesn't look too gory or too scary anymore, even though we have a bunch of zombies in the game. But on the other hand, it became a kind of challenge for us to make a battle feature look and sound exciting in the game. Because you know the blocky characters usually have a very rigid animation, and this makes them not so dynamic but rather look like a robot. So what we did was we decided to import a higher frame animation to make the sound and the movement natural and soft, and try to make all the sound and visual effects well suited to them. So Baam Squad supports single play mode, but when it comes to multiplayer, a lot of things change. So difficulty level changes dynamically according to the number of players, but with a higher reward at the end of each game. And this reward you get is used to upgrade the weapons, which makes it possible for you to go higher round in the next game. So in the cycle of earning and spending this gem, users are advised to co-op with other players to survive longer for their good. There's another important thing, that is to manage the power level in the game, which is required to make all the traps, elevators, the vending machines, and sliding doors to work when they're needed. So you'll find it more manageable during the multiplayer rather than you're playing alone. Okay, and for the question on how users can team up with other players, you can either invite your friends or you can just use a random matching system. Okay, we are working very hard to bring the Baam Squad to you by the end of this year. So the game currently supports Vive and Oculus Touch controller and will work more hardwares in the future. It will be available on Steam and also Oculus Market, so I hope you guys like it. Thank you.